why I decided to erase my book from the internet.
I erased all of them from the internet. I'm Grayson, Grayson Taylor. I make YouTube videos about writing and publishing. I'm an author. I mostly write in the genres of mystery, sci-fi, and dystopian. I've also made films and music. I think that's about it.
That's a lot. I wanted to introduce you guys to Grayson because we both have a very unique shared experience of unpublishing books that we published when we were very young. I started writing when I was around 7 years old, and I think you mentioned in one of your videos that you were also 7?
Yeah, I wrote my first novel when I was 7 years old. I've been probably writing short stories and little comic books and things like that a little bit before. Pamphlets and plays and puppet shows and, you know, all the kinds of things that kids do.
Sorry, did you say when you were 7 years old you wrote 50,000 words?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I wasn't even really thinking about it that way at the time. I'm not even sure I was trying to write a novel. It just happened to work out that way. It was a fantasy story about this group of kids who discovered this magical magnet, and they followed it on this crazy sci-fi fantasy adventure to another planet, and I didn't really plan it out from the beginning. So obviously it wasn't very good, but that ended up being the first book I published.
Sticking to one project from start to finish at that age is insane.
I will say I've started many projects that I've never finished, so this just happened to be one that I actually did get to the end of.
What led you to start writing this book in the first place?
I was given a book by a book publisher and an author. I have it right here. I can get it. This book. It's called The Mysteries of Harris Burdick, and it's just a series of illustrated pictures with a title and a caption. This is the one that actually inspired the book. It's the one that's on the cover. It's called Another Place, Another Time. These kids riding some sort of contraption along a railway toward this distant castle. And that didn't get directly incorporated into the book at all, but it was sort of just a starting point, and then it just grew from there and became this whole fantasy trilogy.
I don't know about you, but growing up I had a lot of different hobbies that I just tried out and they just died off after a while. I wasn't really committed to them. Why do you think you haven't stopped?
There might be some sort of innate quality that drives certain people to pursue storytelling. I've always been drawn to telling stories in almost any medium. I've even tried making TV shows and musicals, plays, animation. Storytelling is just a way of expressing these ideas, or at least a fraction of the ideas that somehow end up lodged in my mind.
A lot of writers struggle with actually gathering the courage to put their work out there, and the fact that you did that, I think you said you were 10, right?
Yeah, I was 10, and I published, I think it was 4 books, so it was that original fantasy trilogy, and then a novel that I wrote when I was 9.
You published them all when you were 10?
Yes.
Wow.
Just through Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. I sort of was so excited by the prospect that I could publish that I didn't really stop to think whether I should.
What do you think your expectations were? It sounds like you might not have had any, I'm not sure.
I don't think I really knew what to expect at first. It was just sort of a way to make myself a published author rather easily. By the time I was a teenager, then I started caring more about the success of my books, or lack thereof. Book launches have always been pretty underwhelming, in part because I don't really put any work into them in the past, and because of the lack of success, I had even less incentive to work hard at publishing my books, and that sort of became a vicious cycle. Publishing ended up feeling like this rather perfunctory step at the end of the far more meaningful journey of actually writing each book.
So what do you think it was that led you to unpublish? Did you say it was 10 books in total? Yeah,
it was 10 books. That original fantasy trilogy, I forget exactly when it was, but it was maybe in my early to mid-teens is when I unpublished those. As I became a better writer, the gap between my current writing level and the writing level of my previous works started to widen. Last year was when I finally unpublished the other 7. My passion for writing, for whatever reason, can't be put out no matter how many times I've failed in publishing my works. Published fiction is sort of like a shared dream. We can invite people we know, or even complete strangers, into these worlds we've created and to meet these characters we've made. The magic of that never really wears off. Ultimately, what I most want to be is a writer who can make a living from creative work. Especially around last year or in the last few years, I started to have the idea of starting a publishing company to be a little more intentional about the way I was publishing my books. Early failures can be sort of the stepping stones to eventual success. And I've learned a lot of lessons from my past publishing mistakes that have shown me the right way of doing things and basically what to avoid next time.
100% agree. Sometimes I look back on my first book and I'm not super proud of certain things. I would have changed parts here and there. But at the end of the day, like, people are still reading it and enjoying it, and I'm still publishing new work, and my goal is for each book to be better than the last one. So tell me about your upcoming projects.
One is a mystery novella that I wrote a couple years ago. It follows Benjamin Adelson, who's a New York City police detective. Two friends of his niece disappear overnight, leaving nothing but a suspicious phone call. And then he takes it upon himself to solve the case before it's too late, and soon discovers that what appears to be an ordinary kidnapping actually has ties to the dark underworld of New York City. And that's the first in a mystery series following this detective. The novel that I've been working on for the past 3 going on 4 years, which is insane because that's like by far the longest amount of time I've ever spent on probably any project, is a book called Catalyst of Control. It's a sort of dark sci-fi dystopian epic, and it follows the story of a young, ambitious Kairos Varden who unexpectedly becomes the head of an international bioweaponry company, and so he finds himself at the center of a global race to develop quantum mind control. I'm also working on a few songs, maybe an album, I don't know, for music inspired by Catalyst of Control. So sort of a soundtrack of sorts to the book.
Those stories sound so cool. They're definitely my vibe. A lot of writers may be scared to put their work out there because they fear publishing bad work. We have both done that. So do you think publishing stuff that is not objectively the best is really as scary as people think it is?
I mean, hey, we both survived, so it can't be that bad. I mean, if you're worried about publishing bad work, think about, like, what's the worst thing that could happen? There's nothing wrong with keeping writing to yourself, but there's also great potential for good if you decide to publish it. And even if you think it's bad, there's a chance that someone else might love it. I had a younger friend who wasn't into reading, but he read one of my early books. I don't regard it as one of my best books, but he really enjoyed it. It got him reading books like never before. Never underestimate the power of sharing your stories, because you never know how it could change someone. I'm writing the books that I would most want to discover as a reader. And, if I don't publish them, they'll be just trapped in my head forever, and never have a chance to move someone or entertain someone.
Where can people find you, and where can they buy your books? When can they expect to find them?
The first place you should go, since you're already here, is my YouTube channel, where I post videos about writing and publishing, and also go behind the scenes of my own books. I recently did the intro music for a video series on YouTube about how I'm starting Winter Forest Press. It's called The Publishing Project. And I'm not currently working on any films, but I'm trying to use my filmmaking abilities to make better videos on YouTube. And I'd like to sort of bring a more cinematic touch to writing advice and writing advice and sharing my own experiences in writing and publishing. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at GraysonTaylorNYC. And you can find all my books, music, films, and other projects at GraysonTaylor.info. And if you want to know more about my upcoming books, just head on over to winterforestpress.com. That'll have all the release dates, synopses, videos, music, all that good stuff about my books. A Rogue game will be coming out this year, and then Catalyst of Control is coming in 2024.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm very excited for Rogue Game.
Thank you. If you want more of our conversation, you can head on over to my YouTube channel, where Mel and I filmed a video about the writing process of her latest book, Nightshade Academy, which is coming out this November. So you should definitely go check that out. I think you'll really enjoy it. This is the remarkable true story behind Mel Torrefranca's new book, Nightshade Academy. I got to talk with the author herself about how and why she ended up moving to Thailand, training in martial arts, and living with monks in the process of writing her book.